Is it possible that a man from the ancient past is responsible for coronavirus and the strategy that is being executed as we speak? We'll discuss this on Global Witness coming up next. When you think about the days of Christ and you reflect on Scripture, you hear the Gospels, you hear all of those different elements of Christ. But sometimes when you read the Word, you have to really listen closely to certain statements because it points to something larger going on. So when Jesus said, "From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom has suffered violence, and the violent take the kingdom by force." Now, if you get into what that actually means, you would have to understand a little bit about John the Baptist. And if you want to know about John the Baptist, you need to understand those that worship and follow him to this very day. They're not very public about it because it's secret. You see, John the Baptist has been the root of secret societies throughout the world for thousands of years. John the Baptist is hailed and honored much higher than Jesus or almost anyone else. Now, here's what's so amazing, is that the groups that worship John the Baptist, these would be the Priory of Sion, Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, all of these secret societies that ultimately worked for the Catholic Church and also became enemies of the Catholic Church, worked for the Jews and became enemies of the Jews. But that's just because they were actually fulfilling the function of what they were trying to accomplish for the future as two places where we're at as we speak. Now, I know that this might sound a little odd, but please follow me here for just a second. Because you see, when Christ said that they take the kingdom by force, not only did he say that since John the Baptist, the violent have taken the kingdom by force. So what was so significant about John? Because remember, Jesus also compared him or said that if you can wrap your mind around it, John is Elijah. So when people think of Elijah, they think because Elijah is chosen that he must be good. Well, that's not always the case. It's like reading Revelation. When you begin to read all of the apocalyptic times, you begin to realize that, wait, that trumpet might not be a good thing for us. That trumpet might mean pain. That trumpet might mean tribulation, but yet it's still God's. Now, is it really God, the Father's? Or is it the God of this world? So since the enemy is the usurper, since the enemy takes everything that is good and makes it his own, wicked means bent. So if straight is the narrow line and the narrow gate, bent means wicked. That's all that wicked means. So you just simply take what is good and slightly taint it. Now, if you're listening to this and you're still following this, hear me out. Because as I've learned in my life, very spiritual moments come from very traumatic times. You see, because dying to the world is about dying to this physical body and everything that goes with it and all of the needs that go with it. This is why fasting is a part, that you sacrifice the needs of the world, of this fleshy body, for a little while to help you connect with a spiritual food. So all of these different pieces have that within it. Our consciousness is massively powerful. Our consciousness is infinite. Our consciousness is everlasting. You are already an infinite being. Your consciousness does not die. Even science has proven that consciousness is energy, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's always been. So your mind and your consciousness has always been around. So not only are you eternal, but you're also ancient. Now, when you bring these things into the 3D flesh, the 3D flesh must die in order to understand the spiritual. Christ said a seed must go into the ground and die before it can sprout and bring forth fruit. When you understand that the torturous nature, if you've ever watched the movie V for Vendetta, you'll understand that there is a refinement by fire, that spiritual moment from the lead character, and then he puts the secondary character, the female lead of the movie, through this experience in a jail cell, in a tomb. And that is getting that person to come to a near-death experience where they actually cross over and gain the wisdom of Christ. So through torture, through calamity, through things like the coronavirus, those that follow the doctrine of John the Baptist execute these things. Sacrifice is good. Sacrifice brings about spiritual in their mind.
Hello, Evie.
You. It was you.
Yeah.
That wasn't real. Is Gordon?
I'm sorry, but Mr. Dietrich's dead. I thought they'd arrest him, but when they found a Quran in his house, they had him executed.
God.
Fortunately, I got to you before they did.
You got to me. You did this to me. You cut my hair. You tortured me. You tortured me. Why?
You said you wanted to live without fear. I wish there'd been an easier way, but there wasn't.
Oh my God.
I know you may never forgive me, but nor will you ever understand how hard it was for me to do what I did. Every day I saw in myself everything you see in me now. Every day I wanted to end it, but each time you refused to give in. I knew I couldn't.
You're sick. You're evil.
You could have ended it, Evie. You could have given in, but you didn't. Why?
Leave me alone. I hate you.
That's it! See, at first, I thought it was hate, too. Hate was all I knew. It built my world, imprisoned me, taught me how to eat, how to drink, how to breathe. I thought I'd die with all the hate in my veins. But then something happened. It happened to me, just as it happened to you.
Shut up! I don't want to hear your lies.
Your own father said that artists use lies to tell the truth. Yes, I created a lie. But because you believed it, you found something true about yourself.
No.
What was true in that cell is just as true now. What you felt in there has nothing to do with me.
I can't feel anything anymore.
Don't run from it, Evie. You've been running all your life. Listen to me, Evie. This may be the most important moment of your life. Commit to it. They took your parents from you. They took your brother from you. They put you in a cell and took everything they could take, except your life. And you believed that was all there was, didn't you? The only only thing you had left was your life, but it wasn't, was it?
Please.
You found something else. In that cell, you found something that mattered more to you in life. Because when they threatened to kill you unless you gave them what they wanted, you told them you'd rather die. You faced your death, Evie. You were calm. You were still. Try to feel now what you felt then.
I felt.
Yes.
I'm dizzy. I need air. Please. I need to be outside.
There's a lift. It'll take us to the roof.
Got us in the rain.
Sacrifice of human life feeds certain sects of these people. They need Holocaust. They need burnt offerings because their god, Saturn, needs those sacrifices. And he needs it to come from within their own people. Well, we have all of these people here. All of these people, for many of them, are considered Holocaust, a burnt offering. The word Holocaust means burnt offering. It's very simple to see that they feel that to bring God through all of their texts, through all of their understandings, through all of their doctrines, through all of their teachings, through all of their activities, if you watch it play out, the Knights Templars, the Masons, have all come from this. Everyone you know in every religion has no idea that they have been supporting these structures until now. Scripture's very realistic when it speaks of that all of these things, everything will be upside down, including who you think God is and who you think Satan is. Remember, Satan has dominion over this world. This is his world. God's church doesn't exist in the world. It might exist on earth, but it's never part of the world. So any church that is part of the world isn't his, which is why Christ could say so easily, I never knew you, you workers of iniquity. Who did he say that to? Believers. This is a refinement for believers. All of you that thought you believed are being refined. Even myself. I am not beyond further refinement, and neither are you. We look at these things and we take stock, we take note of what has taken place to mankind all around us. Emotionally, but most of all, spiritually, we're watching people flee. They're leaving that spirit because they're looking so heavily to mankind to ease their fear. That fear, right now, is building up in an archetype of consciousness. The goal of these folks is to bring your consciousness to a very troubled state. They need you troubled in order for them to feed their God. They need you troubled to focus your consciousness in the direction that they want you to focus it in. This is where twice dead comes from. That once you have adopted a false Christ, which is truly an antichrist, one that has been taken by force, because Christ was here to tell you that that experience is fake if you're forcing it. It's temporary if you're forcing it. It's being manipulated if you're forcing it. If it's taken by violent people for their own need, even if their own mind and in their own words says they're doing it for God. How easily is it to deceive people when everything's for God? Well, what happens when the enemy and the Father are called by the people by the same name? This is the position that we're in. The only way you will ever know the true Father is by finding the kingdom within you. Christ was very clear about that. I suggest you stop reading everyone else and pay attention to his words and his words alone. You're going to begin to see things through his eyes. It's quite different than you've ever seen him before. You might find out, I never knew him yet. I love you very much. Stay at peace. Keep your heart. Don't fret. Don't hate. Get rid of the anger, because time is very short, and this is when things get good.